Okay, hello ladies, this is Miss Wendy. We are going to go through Gateway 2. I repeat, Gateway 2, Part 2 of Food Resources. Gateway 2, Part 2 of Food Resources, which is what are the effects of continuing intensification of food production. Remember, Gateway 2 is about food production. Gateway 1 is about food consumption. So when I'm at the ME there. See, very pretty place. I got no classmates. So this is lunchtime, so I'm trying to record this during my lunchtime. Okay, let's share screen now. Okay, your textbook needs to open to page 137, number 1. Number 2, your learning package, page 31, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, and also number 3, you must watch the video ahead. Okay, there's a video ahead, you must watch it first. Okay, let me see. So what we are after, okay. Presentation, it's a bit, oh, okay. Okay, so never mind, we just take note of this. So what are the effects of continuing intensification of food production? So just now you watch a video of Darling Murray in Victoria, where the context is that due to prolonged intensified food production, and because the food production was being intensified for very intensively, then what happened? It is not sustainable. The soil cannot take in anymore, and hence something happens. So whenever things are not sustainable, whenever we take things a lot at one particular time, there will always be an effect. Okay, for this one, the effect is that is towards the soil. So remember, in order for things to be sustainable, you must ensure that it meets the current needs and the future. So this one, it meets the current needs of the particular place or the particular demands, but it doesn't meet the needs of the future. So what happened is that two things happen. We are talking about the inputs of the crops, purpose and output. So what are inputs? Inputs are, for example, water, fertilizer, seed. Process, what are the process? The process are, for example, the crops, the process itself are harvesting and whatsoever. Output is the crop itself. So if we put too much input, for example, water, irrigation, too much water and too much chemical, something will happen to the soil quality. So let's look into the first one. If we put in too much water, if we put in too much water, number one, water logging will occur. Water logging is when the water is saturated because the particles of the soil expanded and the spaces in between the soil got filled up by the water. And hence, the soil cannot absorb anymore, and then the water start to waterlog. So for example, this is my plant, Miss Wendy's plant. So I keep on water the plants. Then what happened? Not suddenly, there will be a layer of water in which cannot be absorbed. Yeah, so this is no good. Why no good? Because my plants will die because there's no air that goes into the soil and there's no nutrients that goes into the soil. Okay, so this is waterlogging. So what is the effect of waterlogging? So when in a particular large area of crops like Murray Darling, when you put a lot of water so that because you want to make sure that the crops can be successful. So what happened? This thing will happen. So for example, usually this place must be an arid place, means a hot place. So salinization. Salinization is, see the white color things? These are the salt that is left behind through fast pace of evaporation, causing salt after evaporation. So because there's a lot of water and then it's evaporated very fast, and hence the salt are left behind. So when there are salt left behind, it is very bad because it will affect this particular place as well as the river nearby. Okay, this is the normal thing that will happen. This is normal situation, normal situation at Murray Darling Basin. So water seep into the ground, there's water table, so there's no irrigation. See, all got trees, very nice trees. There's no deforestation, there's no urbanization and whatsoever. So the water table very nicely done. Okay, this is what happened when there is waterlogging or salinization. So if you see just now, the trees, more trees, now lesser trees. I repeat, more trees, original, now lesser trees. Why? Because see, these are sprinklers. It's an indicator that there's a, what do you call that? There's crops. So this this happen when there's too much water logging. There's water logging. So look at the what do you call that? The water table. The water table increases at this particular area. Why not this area? Not this area, because this area is a gradient down. The force to push the water table down is faster or stronger than the force to push the water table up. So this one, there's a lot of evaporation. Why? Because there is no top surface. Yeah, there's no top surface, and hence the soil are exposed to the sunlight immediately, hence high rate of evaporation. When there's high rate of evaporation, the salts at the groundwater will rise up, and on top, remember, it will be cakey like this, cakey, C-A-K-E-Y, cakey like that. So, and then also some salts also will travel into the river, which is no good lah. So this one bad. No. Yeah, sorry. This one bad to the place as well. Number one, how to change color? Format, pink color, draw. I want pink. Yes. Number one, this particular area, there'll be salinization, so it's bad. Bad. This particular area also bad. Number two, why? Because the salt and biodiversity and the ecosystem will be affected. Okay, Ken? Okay. Uh-oh. What to do? How come this thing is there? Oh no. Annotate. Let's do eraser. Undo. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, the next one is, so the first one is what? The first one is salinization. The second one is, what is going on? Okay, the second one is effect of chemicals on the water, soil, and quality. So this is number two. We will learn this new term called eutrophication. When there's overuse of fertilizers and pesticide, which cause the soil to be concentrated with chemical. Over time, they seep into the groundwater, then what will happen? It will wash on to the river. So this one, number one, the impact, it's towards the river. So the river, if the river is full now, because there's a lot of chemicals on the soil, a lot of fertilizers on the soil. So when there's water, so this is the soil, this is the river. So when there's rain, the top surface runoff will wash down all these other chemical fertilizers. So what will happen to the river? The river will be very full of nutrients, full of nutrients, because a lot of fertilizers. Then what will happen? There will be a lot of algae on top, a lot of plants on top of the surface or everywhere inside, a lot of plants because it's full of nutrients. And then this is called eutrophication, because what happened to the sunlight cannot reach the seabed. So whatever that's originally happening under the river water, it cannot last long because there's no sunlight. So this is an example of eutrophication, where it depletes the oxygen and aquatic animals. So all these are eutrophication. The issue is not the river, issue is the places away from the river. So away is not necessarily away 1 kilometer. So for example, if I draw the river, this is the river. The place can be very, very far away. It can be, for example, 10 or 20 kilometers away, and then it will affect the nearby river. So sometimes you may look at the situation as number one, the concept of sustainability. This one, of course, sustainability. Number two, concept of space. The space in terms of it affect there's issue in one place, but it affects another place, which is now the river. Yeah, there's a lot of geopolitical issue when the river is sometimes not in that country, it's in another country. And then the ones that causing the river to be like this is probably another country. So there's a lot of geopolitical and geo boundaries that is being affected here. So you can read through this. This is what happened during eutrophication. Okay. Common problems in many countries such as USA. Okay, so this one, so this is where the places are happening. The next one is measures have been taken to reverse the trend of eutrophication. So this is important, number 1 and number 2. So this one is management. This textbook or this syllabus, they talk a bit on management, but this is the part where you have to go in depth. Where management is number 1. How to prevent eutrophication or salinization is to, number 1, implement control measures by preventing nutrients. On this one is usually done by the government, but it's not so easy. And then raising awareness of the farmers. Okay, like what happened in Murray, Darling, Victoria. Okay, so that's one aspect. The second aspect, this one I'm going to go through very fast, is why do food shortages still occur? So there are 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one also you can look at it as what I always teach you, PESTP. P is the first physical, E is the economical, S is the social, and P is the political. This one, technology is not there. Okay, sometimes technology is not there. Why is it that we must remember the PESTP? Because in exam, if it's 5 marks, you make sure you jolly well give 3 points of different category. Okay, so these are the many reasons why food shortages still occur now, even though there's high food supply. Not necessarily aware if you talk about the total food supply in the world, we have higher if compared, remember Green Revolution, if compared to the 1950s. But how come now food shortages still occur? So these are the 5 big categories that we might have to. I'm going to go through very fast because all this you can skim through. Textbook, we are looking at textbook page 140 onwards. The first one is obviously climate change. And because of climate change, it affects the weather pattern. So when it affects the weather pattern, it affects the harvest. This is page 141. 141. Okay, it may lengthen the growing season in other countries. So when we talk about climate change, some places, like remember we learned about climate change itself, some places the growing season is longer, some places is much more lesser. Take a look at this this map. Projected changes in agriculture productivity in 2080 due to climate change. So the red one is no good. The red one means 50% change, and 50% change versus 35% change. So when we talk about the 50% change, we are talking about the areas nearer to the equator. And as we know that areas nearer to the equator are LDC, mostly LDC. Mostly LDC, for example, Africa, continent of Africa, Southeast Asia, Latin America. This one is our north. This one is our DC. So mostly LDC. So they are at the mercy of the climate. When we talk about climate change, we are talking about a increase in temperature. We are not talking about extreme event. Even the extreme weather events this area also will be affected. Why is it so? One of the reasons is because it is at the conjuncture of many of the oceans circular. So this one, the ocean, there's oceanic currents and so on. Okay, so and it's like, for example, these countries, India, is very exposed. Okay, so the places nearer to the equator, they are the food producers of the whole world, and unfortunately, they will be at the mercy of the climate change. I repeat, mercy of the climate change is because, number 1, every increase in temperature, remember we already learned this is latitude equator, temperature will increase higher. All right, not increase higher not only on 1 or 2 months, but the whole year. Okay, it will have an effect and so on. So this is the effect of climate change on food production. So I'll just skim through. Okay, the next one is extreme weather events. So bear in mind, climate change and extreme weather events are 2 different things. Climate change are slow motion. Things will happen many like decades. Extreme weather event, things will happen in a second. For example, immediate, not second lah. Immediate. For example, typhoon, tropical cyclone. Okay, for example, storm. Okay, drought, extreme drought. And then this one is heat wave. All these are extreme weather events. Climate change is really just the increase of global climate over the whole year. Not over the whole year, sorry, over a long period of time. So this one, neverthelessly, we have time to prepare to a certain extent. Whether extreme weather events also time to prepare, can prepare, but sometimes predictability, it depends on the place. It depends on the place whether we can really prepare for it or not, okay? The resources of that particular place, whether it's DC or LDC. So extreme weather events, for example, these are the examples. Okay, may cause damage or make it difficult crops to grow. So unfortunately, this one, extreme weather events, remember typhoons and cyclones are all that they are near the LDCs. So whatever money that the LDC have, they need to be used to control damage control rather than to increase the development of the country. So hence the development might be always be low. Okay, so you can read through this. Okay, the next one is pest. This is the third aspect of physical. Pest means, for example, this one is the caterpillar invasion in Liberia. So caterpillar invasion, you can go and watch the YouTube lah. Before the caterpillar, you think they come here, they slowly crawl here. No, how they come here? They come here by butterflies. So when we watch the videos, the whole sky is suddenly black because the butterflies come at one time, and then they will just lay their eggs here, and then there's caterpillars. All right. So why is it that the butterflies move in such way? Is usually because of the change in weather or the change in temperature. So when there's a change in temperature, the pest will follow. I repeat, the pest or the caterpillar, the butterfly, or the locust. There's another one, locust. So it's very sad. Sometimes this country, usually it happens in the continent of Africa. Sometimes because this is the only harvest that can make it their deal or break it, make it into a deal or break it or whatsoever. And so when the whole swarm of butterfly or locusts come, they can't do anything because they only come because of the temperature. They go to cooler areas and whatsoever. Yeah, so so it's double whammy for them. Okay, so it means that no matter what we do, we cannot control the climate to a large extent. We can control our HYVs, we can control our irrigation, we can control our fertilizers, we can have the best, but suddenly if this happen, it's quite difficult to manage. Yeah. Okay, the next one is civil strife. Civil strife, because of civil strife, it will affect the food production. Whenever there's wars and so on, they don't look into the food production that much. Okay, so you can look into this part here, and then hence there's food shortage. Remember, our whole topic here is talking about the food shortage of that particular area. The next one is poor governance. You can get your examples in the text. You talk about Madhya Pradesh, but you can talk about other stuff, other areas, other countries where there's poor governance, and they don't focus on the food production, and hence there's food shortages in that particular place. The next one is economic. This one is the part that we must pay attention because it's a new thing. So raising demand for meat and dairy products from the emerging economies. Emerging economies are LDCs such as India, China, Russia, Brazil. Last time in the 1960s, they are not in the picture. BRIC, like our IC, birth something. Okay, so last time they are not in the picture. Last time in the before 1960s, they mostly eat plants based. They don't just eat staple food. Okay, but after 1960s, all these join the bandwagon. And then the place will be, then what will happen to the meat after 1960s? The meat increases, the non-staple food increases. So when there's meat increase, means there's higher demand. When there's higher demand, what will happen to the farmers? The farmers, the face like that. The farmers will choose meat or will choose staple food. What do you think? Most of the time, the farmers will choose non-staple food, use their land to grow, to herd cows and whatsoever, to produce meat. Okay, so with that, rapid growing urban middle class, okay, we're talking about purchasing power and so on. So may result in food shortages in poorer countries. Why poorer countries? Because poorer countries still eat staple food. But in their country, for example, in certain parts of China or Vietnam, most of the places are going into non-staple food. For example, grow crops for the meat, for example, for the cows, non-staple food. So they grow, use their place for herding of the meat and so on. Okay, the next one is soaring cost of the fertilizers and transport. What page is this? This is page 145. 145. When we talk about this, soaring cost of fertilizers and transport, we are talking about increase in the cost of crude oil. So when there's increase the cost of crude oil, then there will be increase the cost of food production. When there's increase the cost of food production and transport, then there will increase in the price of food. When there's increase in the price of food, then what will happen? There will be a food shortage in areas where they can't afford those food. All right, when they can't afford those food. Okay, the next one, this is the third one. I repeat, economical. This is the most important one, I feel, is the biofuel. Also the same thing. You have the same piece of land. It's a matter of farmers using it for food, to grow food, or to grow biofuel. What is biofuel in the first place? Biofuel are, for example, corn or oil palm, and they use this corn or oil palm to as oil, as a replacement for oil. Okay, so which one gets more money? Of course, this one. As farmers and landowners, they will go into biofuel. So you will see, for example, especially in Kalimantan, Indonesia, where they have a lot of land, they clear off land in the forest, they grow biofuel because there's obviously a higher demand, meaning they grow lots of corns which we cannot eat, it's genetically modified, because the purpose is not for eating. Immediately, the purpose is to create as biofuels. Okay, because of that, then what will happen to, okay, this is called arable land. Arable land are the land suitable for croppings. Means no need to use a lot of fertilizers. What happened to the arable land? Arable land will decrease, and then there'll be lesser food, then there'll be food shortage. So these are example of conversion of farmlands to industrial crop productions. 1980 like this, 2010 increased a lot. Most of them are for industrial crop production, which is biofuel. Okay, the social part is the lack of accessibility, means they cannot reach that particular place. We're talking about places like, so far. Lack of accessibility, usually these places are the rural areas. The rural areas have food shortages because they don't have enough supply of food, because the food cannot reach that particular place. And sometimes, most of the time, is because of mountainous areas or landslides. Example, if I'm not mistaken, it's Timor-Leste. Timor-Leste, how come it's not inside here, this slide? We are going to do this in detail. Okay, Timor-Leste. Oh, there it is. Timor-Leste. So another one also is inadequate logistic of food distribution and storage. So for example, this photo, if this happen, you think this is like Singapore or Japan, immediately can clear. This is the only land that leads to the particular area of residential or whatsoever. Then if there's a landslide, it will take a long time for them to clear. And then the next one is, if you were to look over here, percentage of food insecure and high vulnerable household. And this part here, this is Timor-Leste. So Timor-Leste, the food production or the food transportation is quite low, right? Because they are full of mountainous areas, okay? So because of this one, Timor-Leste, because of lack of storage and difficulty to access numerous communities. You go and watch CNA, the title is, am I the only Singaporeans? Are you the only Singaporeans in that particular place? So they went to Timor-Leste. And what happened? They go and interview the one and only Singaporean there. but he's only there only for until 1980s. After that, got friend. So do you know what's the Singaporean doing there? His job is to build roads. Yeah, is to build roads. Okay, and the last one, and this is the weakest factor, rapid population growth. You only use this when there is contextualized place, or it's really contextualized. All right, so this is one example, sub-Saharan. If they give you this graph, then can, which is population. If not, you don't use this. All right, so I'm done. So what is the summary? The summary number one, we talk about the impacts. We talk about the impacts of unsustainable food production, which is waterlogging, salinization, salt, remember, and then the other one is eutrophication. Number two, we talk about the food shortage. Food shortage, remember, PESTP. All right, so if you notice, the content is very much simple this time. Okay, so please take a look at your learning package, the instructions in the Google Classroom, and please complete that. All right, which is nice. Okay, bye. Gonna have my lunch.